Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's program, part of the webinar series, Your Career in Transition, brought to you in collaboration with the Mid-Atlantic Association of Museums and the Virginia Association of Museums. My name is Greg Stevens from Purple Cow Career and Talent Development, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all and to host today's program. As you may know, today's program is part of an 8-part series. Here we are diving deep into job postings, but we have 3 more programs coming up. So if you haven't had a chance to register for those, I encourage you to do so. In earlier programs in this series, we talked about how many of you are at various stages of career transition. Some of you might be in a job where you're perfectly happy, but thinking about making a change. Others of you might have been recently furloughed or laid off. Perhaps your institution is closed and so you're working from home. Some of you may not know which direction you're heading. Some of you may be very reflective, and some of you may be anxious about the future and the unknown. Earlier in this program, we learned a little bit about the volatile, uncertain, and complex and ambiguous world we're living in. And we heard from Wendy Luke that many of us are on various stages of grief regarding our career transition. We're either in shock or in denial, or we're frustrated or depressed, or perhaps we're taking some decisive action. And the point that Wendy made is that we're really okay wherever we are on those stages. We also learned in earlier webinars about the skills and competencies that organizations are looking for now. And we provided a range of institutions and we looked at their skills and competencies, and we determined some patterns like critical thinking and problem solving, communication, teamwork and collaboration, flexibility and adaptability, data literacy, technology fluency. So these are going to be important as we continue our conversation about job postings. Earlier in the program series, we also gave you a couple of suggestions about how you can make a simple list of all the things you're good at and all the things you're passionate about, codify those lists, and turn them into a compelling personal narrative, a personal brand about who you are as a professional. We learned a little bit about personal branding and how it is who you are and what you believe, visibly expressed by what you do and how you do it. We learned some of the characteristics of personal branding and how it's imperative for you now more than ever to be distinctive, relevant, and consistent in all things that you do professionally. We learned about the importance of networking, and that networking can take place on a variety of planes, whether it's networking with colleagues at work, or within your organization, within your professional field, or in your life in general, your personal networks. We also learned how sometimes people go from being accidents or acquaintances to being close advocates and allies in our networks. To that point, we learned a lot about how relationships are critical and how, again, now more than ever, it's really essential for us to maintain strong relationships with our colleagues. So today, we're going to switch gears just a little bit and dive into job postings. And we're going to talk about the job posting as a complex communication tool. Obviously, it's about advertising a job position that may be open, but there's many layers to it. We're going to provide you a few tips on how to read a job posting and what you should do or what you might not want to do in terms of looking at a job posting and applying for a job. Again, a quick reminder as a backdrop to what we're talking about careers in transition, and today about job postings. We are, in fact, in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, which means now more than ever, we really need to pay attention to those skills and competencies that are being advertised in job postings. We need to pay attention to those 6 skills that we identified earlier on in the series: strategic agility, getting personal, or relationship building, the importance of effective communication, data fluency, and technology literacy, the importance of prototyping, coming up with new ideas and innovations, and the importance of systems leadership or seeing the big picture. We defined strategic agility as that building opportunity for you to continue learning about the work you do and demonstrating flexibility in your work and embracing change, which of course is critical now in this very complex, ambiguous world. We talked about getting personal or building relationships and how that is really as much about your own relationship with yourself, your self-awareness and your emotional intelligence, but how you build trusting relationships with colleagues, relationships that are authentic and customized to various audiences and communities. We talked about how communication on all levels is critical for success in any field. And communication can be divided roughly into two categories: what you see and what you hear. So words, tonality, body language, and gestures, but also what you don't see, how you bring to your work and how others bring to their work a set of values and beliefs, biases, prejudices, experiences, even our fears and dreams and feelings. So these all come together as communication in the workplace. We talked a little bit about data fluency and how it's important to make meaningful metrics and use those to inform decision making, and how we go about using the data to evaluate and analyze situations, and how to effectively communicate this information to move an institution forward. We talked about rapid and rigorous prototyping, which for those of you in the museum field and in particular in exhibition development might be familiar with the idea of putting together a prototype that is low cost or low risk, trying it out in a new environment with new audiences to see how it works. Well, the concept of prototyping applies to really every aspect of business development these days. The idea being coming up with a clear purpose or hypothesis, testing it out, and measuring the tangible results and reflecting on it after the experiment so that you can move forward. And lastly, we talked about systems leadership or seeing the big picture, and how traditional thinking, a very linear way of thinking, is no longer the norm in our organizations, and that systems thinking is complex, more than the sum of its parts, and that it's really part of a larger learning system or a learning organization where everyone in the organization is adapting to new ways of thinking and doing work. We looked at it as an opportunity to identify root causes of problems and see new opportunities for future business development. We talked about how we can collaborate to make a difference, that no organization or individual within an organization is an island. And we talked about how important it is increasingly that we start to eliminate silos and that we start to foster integration and understanding across our work functional areas. So let's just do a quick scan of a variety of job posting phrases and identify which of the skills that I just described may be evident in a very simple and typical job posting phrase. And the series of phrases I have that I'll share are job posting phrases that I pulled directly from various job postings. So in this case, the job posting phrase is exceptional listener and communicator who effectively conveys information verbally and writing. So that's what the organization is looking for. You might readily see that this is about effective communication. It's about getting personal. It's about relationship building, because communication is a two-way endeavor. Here's another job posting phrase: highly analytical thinker with demonstrated talent for identifying, scrutinizing, improving, and streamlining complex work processes. This one might take a little more thinking, some of it a little bit evident, but it might take some more thinking to identify that they're looking for somebody with strategic agility. They're looking for somebody who's an effective communicator. They're looking for somebody who can engage in rapid and rigorous prototyping or testing out new ideas, complex work processes. And certainly somebody who has systems leadership in mind, somebody who can see the big picture, who can identify those complex work processes, not just for their specific elements, but how they impact the entire organization. Here's another job posting phrase: flexible team player who thrives in fast-paced environments requiring ability to effectively prioritize and juggle multiple concurrent projects. So this too might be pretty obvious. They want somebody with strategic agility. They definitely are looking for somebody who can see the big picture. They are looking for somebody who's an effective communicator, somebody who can engage in prototyping in a fast-paced environment. This job posting: personable professional whose strengths include cultural sensitivity and an ability to build rapport with a diverse workforce in a multicultural setting. Here they're looking for somebody with great communication skills, somebody with important relationship building skills, especially in a multicultural setting where there's a high level of cultural sensitivity and an importance of building rapport with a diverse workforce. Obviously, somebody who can engage in systems leadership, who really sees the big picture. And here's a job posting: results-driven achiever with exemplary analytical and technology skills, design thinking, and a high degree of detail orientation. So here we've got somebody who needs to come with data fluency and tech literacy, effective communication skills, rapid and rigorous prototyping. That's where the design thinking comes in. But also systems leadership, thinking through the parts of the program or the project or the initiative and seeing the whole picture. So let's take a moment and jump to part of an actual job posting. Here, this one on the screen happens to be for a curator of collections. And as you can see here, reporting to the executive director and leading a team of 4. So automatically there's relationships and effective communication. The curator of collections is responsible for all aspects of collections and programming, including collections management, permanent collection, and special exhibition installations, publications, and programming. So here we've got somebody who needs to be able to manage multiple projects, multiple initiatives, and ideally multiple stakeholders, relationship building. So this is systems thinking writ large. Also somebody who can be responsible for engaging with donors, managing project budgets, contributing to grants for special projects, and interpreting history to multiple audiences through diverse media. So here we've got, again, layers of technology, data fluency, integration of ideas, systems thinking. And as you go down in this job description, additional responsibilities include strategic design, development, and supervision of the collections department. So again, strategic thinking, relationship building, ongoing development of plans for the department, its staff, volunteers, and associated programs. Again, supervisory role, strategic thinking, strategic agility, and relationship building. So here's another example for a project manager, and I won't read all of this, but what's interesting about this particular job posting is that they've been pretty straightforward about what they're looking for in terms of the skills and the competencies they're looking for. So it's clearly an information technology role. So likely that they want somebody who can manage data, who has some tech fluency. They also are looking for somebody with a service-oriented mentality, a high sense of ownership for ensuring the client's incidents, problems, requests, and projects are managed, meaning relationships both with internal and external stakeholders. Going on into the knowledge requirements, they're looking for somebody who can manage problems and manage change, who has critical thinking skills, active listening skills, effective communication strategies. All of those fall into that important communication strategy that we talked about previously. We also see over on the right-hand side of the screen essential functions. So this is somebody who can manage multiple contracts, multiple projects, somebody who can interface and be responsive to overall contract administration, again, relationship building and communication, strategic planning, transition planning, again, seeing the big picture, strategic agility, and big picture thinking. So let's move on to another example here very quickly. This is a job posting for a marketing and communications manager. And if you read here, they are looking for somebody to be a marketing manager to develop the strategic direction of the museum's marketing efforts and to implement those and manage those plans. So here, just in that one sentence, they're looking for somebody who has strategic vision, somebody who can develop strategy, but they also want somebody on the ground, somebody who can implement the strategy. So this requires a high level of communication and relationship building as a manager to make this kind of work happen. We are looking for a progressive professional proficient in traditional and digital media. Right there, they're looking for somebody with data and technology fluency. They want somebody who is capable of project management. Again, prototyping, seeing the big picture, multiple parts to any project. The marketing manager collaborates with multiple departments to produce promotional materials while also working with external vendors and contractors. That one sentence right there lets you know that this is about relationship building and effective communication. This position requires not just the technical skills of marketing, but also creativity and an eye for detail, along with the desire to make a significant contribution to the institution. Here, they're asking for somebody who has effective communication skills, relationship building skills, strategic agility, ability to see problems, come up with creative solutions, and to make them happen. Here we've got a job posting for a store manager. And again, I won't read all of this, but if you read some of this, you will see as store manager, a lot of responsibility will rest on your shoulders. You'll lead the charge in every aspect of your store's day-to-day operations and plans for future success. And you'll be the one person ultimately accountable for setting the standard for amazing customer experiences, top-notch employee performance, and budget-beating sales. So here they're looking for somebody with big picture thinking, somebody who has strategic agility, who can manage multiple parts or multiple aspects of the operations of a particular store, somebody who can communicate effectively both with customers and with staff, and somebody who can develop staff to encourage and foster top-notch employee performance. So here is somebody that needs to have effective communication and relationship building skills. And it goes on. This is a job for somebody who loves people, there again, relationships, cares about making the world a better place, and knows how to run a show. Somebody who knows how to manage multiple aspects of any endeavor like a retail operation. Over on the right-hand side, they've been pretty specific about what they're looking for or what the job would require: financial performance, staff performance, merchandising and operations, and human resources. So as you read through these bullets, you can see that many aspects of those 6 essential skills for leaders at all levels appear in this particular job posting. And here's one more, the Assistant Director for Family Programs at a museum. And they've been pretty straightforward here, starting at the very top. They want a minimum of 5 years experience working in museums. So this may not be specific to the 6 skills that we've just been talking about, but right up top, they want somebody with some experience working in museums. They also want somebody who has a proven track record of developing and implementing high-quality, innovative programs for children and families using works of art in an art museum setting. So right up front, this particular job posting is telling you they want somebody with 5 years experience working in museums, somebody with experience working on innovative programs for children and families in an art museum setting. So they've been very, very specific in how they've identified the ideal candidate here. They also want somebody with demonstrated excellent teaching skills in an art museum setting, especially for children and families. So again, they're being very specific. They want somebody who can write and develop effective interpretive materials for children and families. So this is about communication and relationship building with audiences. They want somebody with demonstrated experience setting strategic goals for public programs, prioritizing tasks to support these goals, and implementing and evaluating outcomes for such programs. So here they want somebody who can see the big picture, who can create the strategy, and somebody who can also implement and evaluate the strategy. They want somebody with demonstrated experience supervising teams and training interns and educators. So here they've been clear. They want somebody who can supervise people, it's relationship building and communication skills. And lastly, they want somebody with evidence of well-developed collaborative skills and experience leading teams. Again, this is about relationships. So through all of these examples we've talked about, the question might come up, why does this matter? Why bother diving deep into job postings? Why should it matter that we carefully read what has been written in any given job posting? And we just went through a whole range of them. Well, the first reason why it matters is that doing so, by diving deep into a job posting, is an opportunity for you to see if that particular job aligns with the things that you're good at and passionate about. Your skills, your competencies, but also your motivators, your priorities, and your values. So if you think about what we discussed in an earlier webinar, making a list of all the things you're good at and things that you're passionate about, and putting those together and aligning those with the job posting, you have a better chance of being a fit as you apply for that particular job. Recall also that I mentioned the skills and competencies that many organizations across many fields are looking for. So by tapping into what you know how to do and what you're passionate about, your values, your competencies, your skills, aligning those with what we know many organizations in many fields are looking for, that alignment will help you in developing your resume and your cover letter, your application packet, which we'll talk about in subsequent webinars. But bear in mind that getting really solid about your skills and your passions, your values, and your competencies is a precursor to being able to craft an effective resume and a cover letter that meets the needs of a particular organization for a job being posted. This information would also appear in your online profile, whether it's, you might have a personal website, it might be your LinkedIn profile, it might be Twitter or Facebook or some other online profile. This information all needs to be consistent and say the same thing. Ultimately, all of this is about applying for a job so that you can get an interview. And the only way you're going to get an interview is if the person doing the recruiting, the hiring manager, the HR director, the supervisor sees a fit between the specific skills and competencies that they've identified in the job posting and what you've communicated in your materials, your cover letter, your resume, and your online profile. Another reason why this is really important is, as we've pointed out, we are indeed in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. The job market was already pretty tough for many of us in the museum field, but in all fields, and now it's going to be even tougher. So any job you might apply for, there will be 100 or more people applying for the same job who may or may not have the same skills and qualifications and competencies that you do. So this is really important for you to align specifically what you come to the table with what the hiring institution is looking for. As I've mentioned, there will be hundreds of people applying for a job, and they might be exactly like you. And if you aren't being specific in the words that you use, the key phrases and words that appear in a job posting, then the likelihood of your application material going into the circular file or being discarded are pretty high. So one of the key steps here, as we've been talking about earlier on in our program, small steps for you. What's one thing that you can do to start being more specific about job postings? So one key thing you can do is to get out a highlighter, print out a job posting, get a highlighter, and start making note, highlighting each of the key words and phrases that appear in the job posting. Make really clear note of those. Highlight them, and then write them down on a piece of paper or on a Word document and identify what the job is really looking for. And then hold up your list of all the things that you're good at and passionate about and how you've codified those, and put those together and see where there's alignment. Do you actually have the skills and the competencies and the values in place to fit whatever job you're applying for? Seems like a pretty easy step, but I know many clients and colleagues who skip over this step and will apply for jobs whether or not they've actually thought critically about whether they're a fit or not. So I'm encouraging you to do this. One small step, just as a reminder, is for you to try getting a highlighter, printing out a job posting, and highlighting all those keywords and phrases. Maybe let it rest for a day or two, and then come back to it again and see if you've missed anything. And be really critical and thoughtful as you jot those words and phrases down. What patterns do you see? Do you see that they are in fact looking for somebody who's an effective relationship builder, somebody who can work effectively in teams or across departments or collaborate with internal and external stakeholders? Are they looking for somebody who has expertise in data or technology? Are they looking for somebody who can communicate effectively in writing or in presentations or digital media? Are they looking for somebody who can innovate, think on their feet, and prototype, innovate new ideas, new initiatives, new programs? Are they looking for somebody who is a strategic thinker, somebody who can come up with the strategy, the plan, but also somebody who can implement it down here on the ground? So these are all the things that you're going to want to look at as you start to investigate any job posting for any job in any institution in any field. The same premise holds true, and I really encourage you to take the opportunity to do that. I'd like to thank my colleagues at the Mid-Atlantic Association of Museums and the Virginia Association of Museums for being great partners on this webinar series. And of course, thank you all for participating in this program. It's great to have you joining us today. And as a quick reminder, our next program will be focused on recrafting your resume. So hopefully by learning a little bit about how to do a deep dive into job postings in today's program, you'll be better prepared to craft your resume or recraft your resume. If you haven't had a chance to register for that program or upcoming programs, I encourage you to do so now. On behalf of Purple Cow Career and Talent Development, I'm Greg Stevens. Thanks for joining me today.